Welcome to Illicit Liaisons, where each week we talk about the good, the bad, and the naughty of romance fiction. I am Jenna Hart, a romance author and an avid romance reader. I'm also the owner of swoonworthyhea.com, an online community for people who, like me, love to read romance and want to talk to other people about their favorite romance books, authors, tropes, all of it. If you haven't been by, please stop by. I have regular posts where you can find out where you can get free books. The Illicit Liaison podcast is over there. We have groups. One of the groups I frequently post new releases or new free books. We also have a group where you can share what you're reading. You can actually start your own group. You can even start your very own blog. And if you're an author, it's a great place to come and start your own author website or to start your own fan group so that you can be where readers are going to come and talk about romance. I have a really great show for you coming up today. I interviewed romance author Maggie Blackbird from Canada. It's a very interesting interview. She's an Ojibway from Ontario, and she writes a variety of romance involving Canada's indigenous people. So I know you're not going to want to miss that. Just a couple of quick notes I wanted to share with you. I know that I was gone for a little while and haven't been as good about posting, which I know I say this every time, but I am really committed to improving it. We took kind of an impromptu trip to the Outer Banks last week. While we were at Outer Banks, though, I did find a bookstore and I masked up and went in, and they had a section there of books set in the Outer Banks, fiction books set in the Outer Banks. And I went scanning through and I found a romance section, and I picked up a book, Carolina Blues by Virginia Cantra. This book came out in about 2014, so it is a little bit older, and I would put it in the same vein as something like Nora Roberts would write. It's that type of romance. I enjoyed this book actually quite a bit. I liked the character of Jack Rossi, who is the new police chief on this make-believe Dare Island out in the Outer Banks. He's actually from Pennsylvania, but he had a pretty bad divorce. His partner had been sleeping with his wife, and so he just got away and came down to this island to be the police chief. And he's really still kind of settling in. And then there's Lauren Patterson, who is a grad student who was involved in a bank robbery. She wasn't one of the robbers. She was one of the people in the bank, and became famous for talking one of the robbers down from the robbery and talked him into giving himself up. But she has a little bit of PTSD from that. She's also a writer and is on a deadline to finish a book. And their paths cross, and of course it's a romance, so, things happen. Like I said, I really enjoyed this book. I'd probably give it 4 stars. The only thing that really irked me about this book was that most romances have either 1 or 2 points of view. So it's either just from the woman, usually, or just the man's. I've read some that's just from the man's point of view. Or it has both their points of view, that the couple, both their points of view are in the book. This book had both the man and the woman's, but they also had a third person in here who I think is actually the lead character in the book after this particular book. And I did not like reading from that other woman's point of view. I mean, in my mind, this romance was about Jack and Lauren, so I didn't want to be in Jane, I think that was her name, point of view. Now, Jane's situation and things that happen in this book relate to Jane, but I think a lot of that information could have been delivered to us through Jane telling Lauren things or Lauren observing things. I didn't really think we needed Jane's point of view, and I didn't really care about Jane. I cared about Lauren and Jack. So that was my only kind of beef with this book. But overall, I really did enjoy it. I enjoyed the characters. It was an interesting story. My book of the week this week that I'm reading this week is called Lush Money by Angelina M. Lopez. I actually picked up this book on a whim because I saw it when I was in Walmart, and it just looked really interesting. It turns a popular trope, the billionaire trope, kind of on its head, because the billionaire in this book is our female protagonist, and the male in this book is impoverished, but he is a prince. And so it's a marriage of convenience where by the end of the year when they divorced, his kingdom is going to be saved from financial ruin, and she will have a little child that she will be able to raise. It just looked really like an interesting read, so I picked it up to read it. If you've read it, have anything to share about it, I would love to hear. All right, so let's move on to my interview with Maggie Blackbird. Now, Maggie is an Ojibway from Northwestern Ontario, and she resides in the country with her husband and their fur babies, 2 beautiful Alaskan Malamutes. Now, when she's not writing, she can be found pulling weeds in the flower beds, mowing the huge lawn, walking the malls deep in the bush, teeing up a ball at a golf course, fishing in the boat for a walleye, or sitting on the deck at her sister's house, making more wonderful memories with the people she loves most. Now, she writes contemporary and historical romances involving Canada's indigenous people. She has 14 books now because she had a release out just this week in her When We Were Young series. And what is really fun about Maggie is that while she writes contemporary and historical romances, she also has some in YA and LBGTQ. So she has a wide range of stories, all involving people falling in love, which is awesome. Let's go ahead and get started with the interview. Maggie, I want to thank you so much for agreeing to talk to me today about reading and writing romance fiction.
Yes, I'm very glad to be here. Very glad to be here. Actually, Night Moves was just released today.
Ooh, so if you're hearing this, go grab it now.
Yes. Yes,
Well,
yes.
Congratulations. It's always a big day when a book comes out. You know, even if you've had books before, it seems to me each one is like your new child going out in the world.
I'm the opposite. I'm probably one of those writers who doesn't get excited about release day.
Wow.
I get excited about the whole editing process. To me, that's when it's exciting. Working with my editor, working with my proofer, working with the publisher to get the book out. And once I get back the final proof, that's the excitement for me. Yeah, that's yes, it's done. Thank goodness. It's going out now. And release day is just basically all promotion and marketing.
Yeah,
I
know
one of those rare authors.
I saw there was a post on Facebook just yesterday, I think it was, what is the worst part of being a writer? And so many people talked about the marketing stuff.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, that's what I was spending my morning doing, was getting everything ready for Night Moves. Sending up all this, I already have all blog posts ready to go and everything, but there's always so many last minute things that you still have to do. And so release date for me is kind of more of I got to get this done. I got to get that done. This has to be set up and, set up on Facebook. This has to go out on Twitter and everything like that. So,
yeah.
and
Creating all
that's
the
basically
graphics.
how I spend my morning.
Yeah.
Though that's all done ahead of time, but like I said, there's so many last minute things that still have to go out on release days. So that's how my morning is. It's not so much, yay, the book is out. It's more like, okay, I got to still get this done.
It's interesting because the world we live in, what's really nice is, authors do have more control now over getting the message out about their books. But you think back to like the writers in the 80s and the 90s, like the Nora Roberts and the Sandra Browns and all that, they don't do any of this stuff. And Of course I'm not them, but it just seems, so it's nice for somebody who's not them to be able to, still have a successful career. But, the idea to have a
Yeah,
big publisher
yeah.
that was behind you 100%. Because I don't know about your publisher. I have publishers, and they, if I ask them for stuff, they help me, but there's a lot of stuff they don't do in terms of helping me market.
Yeah, it's still a lot of work. Yeah, they send out the arcs and everything, for reviews and everything, and but yeah, a lot of the marketing is it comes from the author, where you're constantly setting everything up to make sure the release is successful. So
Yeah. So for people who are listening to this, if you're a reader, you can help your favorite authors out a lot by, talking them up and
mhm.
sharing their books and following them and supporting them, because that makes a big difference. I want to start with you talking about kind of how your interest in romance fiction started, because most romance authors, before they're writing, they're reading romance. So I'm curious, were you a fan of romance fiction before you started writing? And were there any authors or any books where you said kind of like, I could do that, or I want to do that too?
Oh yes, for sure. Even on my website, I say I'm a reader first, a writer second, because I'm such a fan of romance. It started way back. I must have been around, I don't know, maybe around 12, 13. I'm not even sure the age. It's been so long. But there was a novel by, Johanna Lindsay called Paradise Wild that was making its way around the reserve. And an older girl, she must have been about 18, 19, she passed my older sister a copy of the book and said, "You got to read this. It's really good." My older sister read it and she loved it. And she passed it to me and said, "You got to read this. It's really good." And there was that marketing, you see, how friends just share. And sure enough, I read that romance. It was a historical, and I was just hooked for it right from then on. I sought out everything to do with Johanna Lindsay, and I found her backlist. So, and in those days, you couldn't just go online and grab them. So I had to wait until we went to the city, Winnipeg. And that's when I bought up her backlist and started really looking at all the different romance authors that were out there. Another big one is Roseanne Bittner. She writes historical westerns in America, set in the USA, and those are also really good books. I wasn't sure if I could do historical, but I know that I really wanted to write romance. I've always been one who likes to make up stories in my head. I've been doing that since I was a little girl. I can remember us, my younger sister and I, we had our own room, bunk beds, and I would lean over the top because I was on the top bunk. And my mother would have to come in and tell us to be quiet because we would be playing all night, just making up stories together. Whether we were playing, the rock group Kiss, for example, pretending to be Kiss or anything, and making up stories from there. And stories stayed with me that way for a long time, even with, Ken and Barbie or whoever. And I was away at school when I attempted my first romance novel. The lady had brought a typewriter up, and I just started writing. And then when I was, working, my business travels took me everywhere. I did a lot of business traveling. And when I go back to my hotel room after I finished my work for the day, I would write just to relax. It was only a hobby then, just something to do that so where I could still keep making up stories. And so that's how it all began.
It's interesting because I got my start kind of writing stories, and I would actually write fan fiction. So I was writing stories about people I didn't create, but it was stories I wanted to see or read or something. And just like you, it was just for fun,
Hmm.
just something that was interesting.
Yeah.
And so you were writing mostly for your own entertainment, kind of as a hobby or something to relax. At what point did you think, oh,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'll go ahead and see if someone wants to publish this?
It was around, I'm trying to think here. I thought, well, maybe I'll give it a try. And this was before, this was the late 90s, early 2000s. I was writing MC romance before it even became popular, motorcycle romance. And I had come up with all my bikers and everything like that. And I thought, well, maybe I'll try get it published. But it wasn't meant to be. I thought, well, this stuff doesn't seem all that good. And like I said, at the time, the genre wasn't there for it. And I just kept thinking, well, I can't see anyone wanting to publish this. It's so far away from what is common in the romance community. So I just set them aside. I'm glad I did, because when I look at those 7 novels now, I laugh. I look at it and think, oh my God, what made me think I could even consider publication at that time. Yeah, yeah. But I had a lot of fun creating the series, creating the motorcycle club, all that. But like I said, they'll stay on my hard drive. I still have them, but that's where they'll stay. And it wasn't until 2010 when I decided, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give this a big shot, because I did take some time off, like you, to write fan fiction. And I had a great time doing that as well. It was just, like I said, writing is such a part of me that, I wrote, I don't know how many stories that won't see the light of day. It was just for pleasure, nothing more.
You were talking about the motorcycle club thing, and I was thinking that I remember my sister recommending one of those books a couple of years ago and thinking, this is a thing. And then now you go on Amazon and there's all sorts of stuff I don't think we would have seen in the 90s in terms of mafia. I mean, there's just all sorts of things, which I guess is all about authors being able to self-publish now. And I think it shows that readers really have expansive interests that they're in, that like a lot of publishers I don't think we're aware of.
They do. There's a lot of them. And publishers have their set formula as well, though, too, that they got to stick with. And, and at the time writing MC, that was not something that they would have taken on. I did my whole bit of, becoming a part of Writer's Digest, all that kind of stuff, because that was basically all that was available back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I never even heard of the Romance Writers of America. I didn't even know that organization existed or anything like that. And so I stuck to the writers. I would go through all the different agents not on there, and I could never find anybody that was really looking for what I was writing. So I just thought, oh well, I'll just keep it to myself, and maybe someday down the line, I'll find a place for it. But it's best on my hard drive.
I was thinking, wasn't one of the category romance companies in Canada, like, was Silhouette in Canada?
Yeah, Harlequin was based in Canada. It actually, from what I understand, started in Canada.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I'm no expert on Harlequin. Like, no, far from it. But
yeah,
but
I knew one of them
they were started in Canada.
I guess they merged Harlequin and Silhouette or something like that. But in my mind, I remember one of them being in Canada. So you wrote your motorcycle club series that didn't see the light of day. You've also written some fan fiction, but today you're writing about Indigenous people in Canada. So I'm curious about how that came about, when you decided to do that, because it sounds like it's part of your life. So it makes sense that you would write that.
Yeah, it's a big part of my life. I grew up on the reserve, and my family goes all the way back, all the way to the signing of the treaty, living on that reserve and living in this area, and and so my roots are very grounded. the life of being Ojibway, I've had grandfathers, great grandfathers who served as chiefs. My dad served on band council. My younger sister, served on band council. The reserve was just a big part of my life, and I also worked for an indigenous organization for over 15 years. So going from reserve to reserve, we call them the communities, was also a big thing. Like I was it's just who I am. And at the time, my writing mentor, that's when he was helping me with that motorcycle series, just said to me, Maggie, why don't you just write what you know, write about the indigenous people? And I thought, well, I don't think anybody wants to read about the indigenous people. I really didn't believe it. I thought, well, why would they want to read mainstream? North America won't want to read about indigenous people. But I just thought, well, why not try it? Why not? There's not that many books out there. It's something that I know a lot of. It's a big part of me, of who I am. So that's when I decided, yeah, I'm going to try that. That's going to be the focus of my direction for writing romance.
And it turned out.
Yeah, it turned out good. Turned out well. So I'm really happy I went that direction. It's going wonderful. Like I said, I have the books out, publisher that believes in me, and it's something that I always wanted to do. Like I said, since 2010, that's when I decided. I did get setbacks with health. I had an autoimmune disease I acquired, which wasn't all that fun. And but finally, 2018 was when the first book went out.
Wow. Did you have, when this switch came, when the mentor made the suggestion you should write about indigenous people and you started to do it and see success, do you now look back and think, why did I think of that sooner? Or
Not really, no. Like I said, I have so many interests, and I'm so interested in culture. It doesn't matter if it's a biker culture, religious culture. Um, I like exploring all those different cultures that are out there. So I have no regrets about getting sidetracked. The time just wasn't there at the time, but now it's something that I love to do.
yeah,
Something I love very much.
I'm curious about when you write about the indigenous people, what are some of the themes or issues or conflicts, I guess, that are kind of unique to that culture that come up in romance?
Well, one of them is the colonization, the impact colonization had and still has on the First Nations communities. But that's a big one. You will see it in the When We Were Young series in Night Moves, that book. Just how having their land taken from them, being put into Indian residential schools, all of that, how it impacts them, because it still does. And you'll see that with the protagonist, Billy Red Sky, how colonization impacted his life, and even how it impacts the other hero. It's a two-spirit romance, Rene Ojibway as well, how it impacts him. And like I said, in another series, my Matawapit family series, it looks into the impact the Indian residential schools had on communities as well and individuals.
Yeah. To me, that's interesting. And at the same time, I know down in the United States, the history of how Native Americans were treated. And it's really sad to, think of how hard the attempt was to basically strip them of their culture, of their livelihoods, their traditions and rituals, and their language. It's just
yeah. So like I said, and I thought, well, you know what, why not address these problems but put them into a romance story,
yeah.
And yeah, So, and like I said, I'm really enjoying doing that. It's a lot of fun. It's just something that I love to do. And like I said, you don't see many indigenous heroines in romance novels. You see a lot of the men, but not the women. So writing indigenous heroines is also important to me, just to showcase, the different walks of life that we come from.
It's funny you say that. I live just outside of Charlottesville, Virginia, and
Mm-hmm.
Charlottesville is the area that Lewis and Clark were from, as well as
Uh-huh.
Thomas Jefferson. And Thomas Jefferson sent the two of them, across the country to
Mm-hmm.
discover all this land that Jefferson had acquired. There's
Yeah.
a statue of I think it might just be one of the men, it might be both men. I can't remember,
Mm-hmm.
but anyway, they had a guide, right? Sacagawea.
She was a woman.
Yes,
Yeah.
she in this statue, she's behind them, kind of in a, I don't want to say she's cowering, but she's kind of down, right? And the men are like
Mm-hmm.
standing in front of her. And that statue makes me crazy because she she was their guide. She was their pregnant guide
Yeah.
for a while, right?
Yeah.
you know, they made
Oh,
this trip
yeah. Yeah.
because of her, due to her help. And so that statue always makes me crazy about how, it sort of dismisses her and her importance. And
Yeah. You'll find in the fur trade, the women were very prominent as well. And they were the ones that basically facilitated uh, the trade between the French or English and the native people. The women played a big part in it. And a lot of them married the women as well
yeah,
and had children. Yeah.
women have just in history seem to have their importance seems
Yes.
to be
Women,
dismissed.
yeah, all women throughout history, I find it.
Now you're writing, we're talking historical issues here, and I know you write historical romances, but you write in contemporary times as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you kind of have both,
Yeah.
but you also write like YA and LBGTQ, is that right?
Yeah.
So you got something
Yep.
for everybody.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Something for everybody. I find I don't just stick with one pairing. I find there's always a story in there, whether they are young adults, whether they are two men or two women, or whether they're adult male and female. It's all good. It's all good. Whatever the story calls for.
Yeah, yeah, just as long as there's love.
Yeah, yeah. Just as long as there's a good romance going on.
Yeah, I love romance. I people make fun of romance, but I just think what better thing is there than falling in love and having a soulmate and all that.
Yeah. Well, if it wasn't for romance, I think I said this when we spoke last time, none of us would be here. So
Exactly.
it shows
Exactly.
you the importance of romance. We have
Yeah.
squirrels that we like to feed. And right now, all 5 or 6 of them, I can't remember how many squirrels run around here, are all enjoying their own romance. I can see them chasing each other all over the yard. So there you go. It's
Yeah.
for everyone.
I think what
Hmm.
what gets me about the stigma of romance is definitely it's not for everybody, but the people who it's not for seem to be okay with talking down on it. Whereas, for example, I'm not a huge fan of some genres of fiction, but I don't go around dismissing it or demeaning it, right?
No,
But
no,
for some reason, people who
that's
don't like romance, they just think it's, I guess, shallow. And or the excuse I like the best is the one where they're like, well, it's not real life. And I'm like, dragons aren't in real life either, but I don't hear anybody telling George R. R. Martin what he writes
hmm.
isn't real.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense, which is really too bad, because one thing I noticed in the romance community is you'll never hear them talk bad about other genres ever.
yeah.
And yet, the other genres, yeah.
Yeah.
will
And
kind
like
of
I said, there's some genres of books that I don't really have much interest in, but I don't think there's anything wrong with them. They just don't appeal to me. I'm
yep, same here.
I like
Yeah,
I
I
like
know how
books that end
everybody.
well and yeah, have a great journey through them. That's what I like.
Yeah, same here. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was one of those rare people who has never read Lord of the Rings and never seen the movies, but I would never say anything, about it. It's just not for me.
Yeah. So there you go. Everybody should read romance. I think I told you this last time we talked where my mother, she does sort of look down on romance. She doesn't say it out loud anymore because I write it,
Hmm.
but I know she loves a good mystery, particularly a British mystery or something like that.
Oh, those are good. I love them
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when Bridgerton came out on Netflix, she started watching it because she does like things like Jane Austen and British period pieces. And Bridgerton
Hmm.
clearly is a British period piece. And she really liked
Uh-huh.
the show. And I'm like, Mom, that's a romance novel. And I read it because I wanted to read it before I saw the show. And what I thought was
Hmm.
hilarious is there were things in that show that were not in the book that are even more steamy and crazy
Uh-huh.
than was in the
Yeah.
book. And
Hmm.
she liked Bridgerton. And I was just like, oh my God. So I brought her the book. I doubt she was going to read it. And I was like, well, give it to my sister because she does like historical romance. But
Uh-huh.
but I just thought that was interesting how the same story in a different format was fine, even though
Yeah, yeah,
it
that's what you find. Yeah.
was pretty
Yeah, it's
spicy.
most of the
Anyway,
time they don't even know they're even coming across something romance. They just don't see it that way.
yeah. I want to do a quick speed round of questions for
Okay.
you. I call it the quick six. The first is, who is your
Uh-huh.
favorite author beside yourself?
Johanna Lindsay and Roseanne Bittner.
Roseanne Bittner. I'm going to have to look them up because I haven't heard of them.
Yeah.
What is your favorite book besides any of your own that you've written?
A Heart So Wild by Johanna Lindsay.
Okay. What is your favorite romance category, as in contemporary, historical, YA?
Historical. I love historical romance.
Yeah. I worry about writing historical because there's just so much research and I'm afraid I'll miss something and someone will tell me they didn't have that kind of candle or that kind of something, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
what is your favorite romance trope?
I would say either forbidden love or enemies to lovers.
Yeah, I like good banter. What are you
Yeah.
reading now?
Immortal Secrets by L. Lincoln.
Oh, Lincoln.
I'm actually almost done it.
And when you're reading in your cozy little spot, coffee, tea, wine, or some other beverage or treat?
Oh, I don't have anything to drink or eat when I read. I actually read at night before I go to sleep. I always commit at least 1 or 2 hours to read. I usually go for 50 pages a night. And that's my de-stress downtime where I can just sit there and enjoy a good book before I go to sleep.
I would have a hard time if a chapter ended in a way where it's like I had to read on. I mean,
I usually don't. I'm pretty disciplined where I just got my 50 pages and sometimes I will read on though. It all
yeah.
depends.
I mean,
Mhm.
when you get into a good book and you're really immersed in it, I find it hard to do anything else. Like I will
It
figure
can
out
be
a way to read
difficult.
all day just to get
Oh,
through.
I wish I could. Yeah,
Yeah.
I really wish I could read all day. But like I have a set schedule. I'm one of those who's all schedule, 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 and so that's why I don't touch reading during the day because I could waste a whole day just reading
Yeah.
easily.
Because sometimes I'll read like
Oh,
at lunch or something, right? And you just think, oh, it's not that much, and then pretty soon, my lunch is 2 hours long.
I had to stop reading at lunch for that reason. Yeah, I used to read on my lunch hour. I would take my break, have my food and read and and I had to stop. It's too easy to lose yourself in the book.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I thought, okay, I'm just going to read at night because reading on the lunch hour is not working out. An hour wasn't enough. Like I said, I usually like to put in a good hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of reading before I go to sleep. So
Yeah. Yeah. Good for
yeah,
you
it's
being so
important.
disciplined. Um, well, Maggie, can you tell us where we can find your books and learn more about you and follow you and support you?
Oh, it's easy. Just go to MaggieBlackbird.com. Everything you're looking for is there, from where to find my books to signing up to my newsletter, where to follow me on social media. All of that is all on MaggieBlackbird.com.
MaggieBlackbird.com. And I will have this link where this podcast is posted. So everybody, please go check out her books and her site and all that. I'll have links to your books as well, too, or at least for
Great.
sure the When We Were Young series, because that's the one that just came out from that series.
Yeah, I'm in edits for the fourth and final book right now as we talk. So I actually just sent back my second pass. So.
Well, Maggie, I want to thank you so much for chatting with me today. Again, I'm really fascinated by your writing, and I encourage everybody to, again, check out MaggieBlackbird.com and check out all her different works. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed myself.
I really hope you enjoyed that interview with Maggie Blackbird. Again, please visit swoonworthyhea.com and click on the Illicit Liaisons tab at the top of the page to be taken to this podcast show where you can check out all her great books. I'll also have links to the books that she referenced being some of her favorites. And of course, it's a great place to leave a comment or ask questions of me or Maggie about this interview. Also, while you're there, please consider joining Swoonworthy HEA. It is free. You get a free book journal to keep track of your reading. And again, you can join in conversations, find out about free books, new releases, and a whole lot more. So I look forward to seeing you over at swoonworthyhea.com. Until next time, this is Jenna Hart wishing you peace, love, and happily ever after.